Welcome back to Mark Holubus Vlog, everybody. Thanks for joining in on this beautiful, if not a little bit cool morning. Thanks again. Today we are going to share with you a special little treat. We already have the wonderful F-Type R over here idling. It's ready to go. It's warmed up. Let's go for a ride right away. However, we also have the Lamborghini Gallardo, which is also a strong feature on my channel, and the wonderful E60 M5. I know a lot of you guys have been asking, do I still have the M5? Yes, there it is. And I also asked you guys in a poll on the community page on my other channel about which car do you guys like best. I asked M5, Lamborghini Gallardo, or F-Type R. And almost unanimously, the M5 took the top crown. And that's likely because I have a lot of BMW content on the channel, so it doesn't surprise me. But guys, for those that have been asking, yes, I have the M5 right here and it's ready to go. The Lamborghini was second and the F-Type R was third. Because this car is newest to the channel, I know you guys will grow to love this thing as much as I do because these cars are spectacular. But today we are going to share the actual driving experience, kind of the little nuances, how each one drives in their own unique way. I'm going to drive the F-Type here today, but I'm going to explain how these other two great cars drive in the same kind of perspective or same light and same driving dynamics. So you definitely want to stick around, guys. Let's get into it now. So let's get into it. So the first thing is this car here. Got this beautiful little Jaguar symbol right there, as you can see. Give that a tug. Now getting into this car is actually quite easy. You've got actually a very high sill. Now for me, so I prevent wrecking my bolsters all the time on the sides, I always like to hop into the seat versus sliding across the seat. Now the Lamborghini Gallardo is very difficult. You literally have to turn sideways like this and back in like that and then flip your feet in. But this car here actually works pretty well. You can get in quite easily. It's got a high sill. You can lean down. I actually use that to lean in as I get in so I don't rub the bolster of the seat. And the M5, of course, is drastically easier because it's a large sedan that sits very high. So the M5 is the easiest car to get in and out of. The Jaguar is somewhere in the middle, and the Lamborghini, of course, is very difficult. But getting right in, then we just give her a close, and that's it, we're in. First of all, we'll talk about what it means before you even get moving. With the Jaguar down here, you've actually got to deactivate. This is your start-stop, the automatic start-stop. I always like to turn that off when you pull up to a stop sign or a red light and the car turns off. I get it, it's for the environment. It's also, you know, to save fuel and all of that good stuff. But I don't like it, and there's no way that's good for a car. Start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, ring gear, starters, that's not good. It's also not potentially good for an engine. However, that's where the M5 doesn't have that, neither does the Lamborghini. Here, I have the electronic. This is the electronic park brake. You have to release that. Whereas the Lamborghini has a good old handbrake, the old rip style that you can tug at as well, because I have the pre-facelift E60 M5. That car also has the old pull lever style. Newer BMWs, of course, have this digital, also have this electronic park brake, but my old M5, because it's the early generation, does not. It actually has just a pull handle. So that's the first thing, is release your park brake, and then we get rolling. Now, the first thing you have to know is this car here is actually sits fairly high, like it's a low car, but the front nose is just high enough to clear the curbs backing down the driveway. There's a bit of a curve there, so I don't need anything special. The M5, same story. It rides fairly high, even the nose. It's very aggressive looking, but it still has a decent height. The Lamborghini Gallardo, on the other hand, is a little different story. I have to activate the nose lift, and there's usually a button. There's a button on the Lambo somewhere down in that area that you have to activate. It lifts the nose up and away you go. Then we get moving. So the next thing I'm going to point out is the Lamborghini is a 6-speed single automated manual gearbox. It actually is a manual transmission, but it uses electric over hydraulic to switch gears, and that's done through the paddle shifts on the steering wheel. So it's really more of a manual gearbox. The BMW E60 M5 is very, very similar. It's also electric over hydraulic, but they call it the SMG, and it's the SMG3. It's the third variation of it. Very, very sloppy at low speeds in default auto mode. Just horrible. You don't want to drive it that way. You do want to dial up the transmission shift speed setting right to the maximum, which is 5 bars that you'll find. Typically you'll see it right in the middle of the dash. And you definitely want to hit that when you're driving the M5. With this car, this is an 8-speed automatic, so that's a torque converter automatic. Pull a lever and push it, and now as you can see, we are in reverse. So let's just back out, put her in drive, and off we go. Now we're cruising along. Now this car is very comfortable to drive. You know, just in automatic mode, you can just throw it in auto and it cruises right along very comfortably. And that's what I like about this car, is it can be an absolute maniac, which it is, if you want it to be. But say you're just driving to work in the morning and you've got a coffee in your coffee holder and you don't want chaos. You just want to get to work. You want it quiet and serene because you don't want to rev up and get too crazy and excited and agitated in the morning. So you can just throw it in drive and drive it like a good old automatic transmission. And it behaves like a good transmission should as well. It always knows which gear to be in. Now, that's where the M5 is. You can throw it in auto mode, but it is a really, really kind of a crappy scenario because it's very lurchy and jerky and whatnot. It's not really designed to be an automatic. It's manual first, auto second as sort of a convenience. If you are going to drive it in automatic mode in the M5, I would suggest you still toggle the shift speed all the way up, and then it does make it a little bit more manageable. Otherwise, my recommendation in the M5 is typically drive it in manual mode and pull the levers. Now the Lamborghini Gallardo, on the other hand, don't drive it in automatic. It has the feature, it has the capability, but everybody, if you read the forums and you want to learn more about it, automatic mode as well as reverse are the two modes that will burn off your clutch in a hurry. And let's face it, you're in a Lamborghini. Why would you want to be trolling along in auto mode anyway? The reality is that car is meant to be aggressive, fast, and crazy. And so you're always tugging at the gears. And again, the thing I like about the Lamborghini, it doesn't have the fastest shift speed, but it's very abrupt and aggressive. And when you're pulling those gears, it's just hammering you in the seat on every gear change. And it's just crazy. I love it. And that's a sensation that is lacking in many, many cars today. Sure, the double clutch transmissions are really, really good in most of the cars today in the way they operate. They're so smooth, they're so fast. But the reality is they get a little boring after a while, if you can believe that. They're faster for a track setting. If you really want to put down the lap times, the double clutch transmissions are the way to go. And they're likely more reliable. However, the Lamborghini single clutch trannies that you get in the Gallardos, you get in the Lamborghini Aventadors, believe it or not, they have a little bit different system, but it's still kind of old school, single automated manual. They're also quite lurchy and not what the double clutch systems are today like you'd find in a Huracan. So driving along in the Jaguar, it has a very, even though it's sporting and it's very rigid, you can tell it's sporting intentions, it is dialed in. It's relatively quiet and smooth, and there's not a lot of harsh banging and knocking. It's a very nice, comfortable drive. The BMW M5, on the other hand, can also drive like this, and it does. It's in its default setting, it's very smooth and relaxed, but when you put it in M mode, that whole thing changes. The way the suspension stiffens up and the steering tightens up and the brakes and the throttle response all changes instantly when you press the M button. It becomes a lot more like a Lamborghini. Default mode, it feels more like the Jag, but at the end of the day, the BMW is really more Jekyll and Hyde. Whereas a Lamborghini, there's no real soft setting. You're in it and you know it. And the Lamborghini ultimately will bang along on hard, harsh bumps and road splits, and you don't want to hit a pothole with a Lamborghini because guaranteed you're going to cause damage. With the low profile wheels and the rigid suspension, we know the front end of those Lamborghini Gallardos are a little bit fragile as well, so it feels like a proper exotic car. It's rigid but fragile, and honestly, if you want to take a car to the track, that's why those cars are so poised on the track, but for the street, they can be a real butcher. So then we get out on the highway and we'll just let her open up. Woohoo! Whoa! Wow, is that ever fast? Yeah, so if you're wondering about the acceleration between the three cars, there's no question in my mind the Jaguar is the fastest car. It gets out of the hole the quickest because of being an automatic transmission. It's able to engage and launch out of the hole a lot faster than either of the single automated manuals that you find in the M5 or the Lamborghini Gallardo. Once you're on the fly, they're very, very close. Even though both the other cars are a little bit down on horsepower, the Lambo's around 500 and the M5's around 507. Those cars are a little bit lighter. The M5 is close to the Jaguar in terms of weight, but the Lamborghini is quite a bit lighter at about 3,400 pounds. It's about 500 pounds lighter than the Jaguar. So it does have a significant weight advantage. So once you're on the fly, I would say the Lamborghini likely would probably give any of these cars a run for their money, but they're all very, very close because we're talking about cars that are all in that 500 plus horsepower range. Now these other two cars are a little bit heavier. The Lambo is a little more dialed in. Now the power delivery is a little bit different for all of them. Of course, because the Jaguar has the supercharged V8, it actually makes some crazy noises. Yes, it does, but the way the power comes on too is a lot different. Supercharging adds a lot of power down low because it runs like a strong, normally aspirated engine, but adds a lot more punch across the entire power band. These cars come out of the hole a lot faster and maintain that power all the way through. It's a very linear power band and power delivery. The Lamborghini has a more peaky power delivery, and so you get the power as you accelerate, and the revs climb, you get more and more and more power. The E60 M5, you get more of that too, particularly in the M mode, where it extends the power band, and the timing of the car essentially is altered in such a way that it becomes more of a Lamborghini type power delivery where you don't have a lot of torque at the bottom. As a matter of fact, you have very little torque at the bottom. It feels almost torqueless, but as you accelerate, that torque builds and the RPMs and the power delivery builds, and it becomes very much like the Lamborghini. So then you wonder about driving modes. Do you have different driving modes to sort of change up the monotony of the driving experience? You do. On the BMW M5, if you go to the steering wheel, you have the M mode, and you can push the M button, and that gives you the full meal deal. Now you can pre-configure your M modes within the iDrive system, or the M Drive system, if you will, and you can set it up if you want the throttle response, the handling, the shift speed, all of that stuff. You can actually dial in specifically for the car the way you like it when you hit the M button. But generally speaking, the M gives you the capability of gives the maximum attack mode. Throttle response is instant, handling is stiffer, differential is more aggressive, and not only that, it gives you the full power. So instead of the 400 horsepower, it gives you the full 500 plus. Not only that, when you shift to M mode, normally the shift transmission speeds are at 5. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 bars of shift speeds, 5 being the fastest. But as soon as you open up the floodgates and you hit the M mode, it opens up one more bar. So there's actually a 6th shift speed that will allow you even more aggressive shift speeds. Pretty hard on the whole driveline. You can use it. I've used it. It's a lot of fun. It's really fast and aggressive, but almost too aggressive for normal use. But regardless, that's an option. But the Lamborghini, on the other hand, has 3 modes. It has Snowflake for bad driving conditions. I wouldn't suggest using that because all that really does is seem to cut the revs back, so you can't even rev it very high and it feels like the car is broken. They put it in there for shits and giggles, but realistically, it's not really needed. You have default mode as well. And then you have sport setting. Sport setting really doesn't do much from what I can tell, other than it really gives you a faster shift speed. So the downshifts are really aggressive and harsh. You can actually hear the induction noise in the engine because when it downshifts, it's trying to match revs, so you can hear it really suck air as it's downshifting. It's really aggressive. I love it. Upshifts are fast too. So the sport mode is really just there to make the shift speeds go a lot faster. Downshifts, upshifts a lot quicker. Other than that, there's no real power difference. Then of course on the Jaguar here, you've got a couple of modes, but the Jaguar is not full of tons of those electronics like you get in a lot of the BMWs and a lot of the cars now where you have multiple different adjustments. There's not a lot of adjustments here. You have essentially Snowflake, which is for crappy driving conditions. You have default, so when you start the car, it just stays in their middle position. So it's comfort mode essentially. And then you have dynamic mode right here, which is my favorite. When you toggle that down, that does a few things. It gives you a red display on the dash. All your gauges turn red, as well as shift speed goes up. It's a lot faster. The car opens up the exhaust baffle, so it becomes far louder, and everything's just more aggressive. Shifting, power, noise, even the visible parts with the dashboard lights, everything's way more intense. And the dynamic mode is just the way you want to drive this car. That's the way it was meant to be. That's what makes this car an animal. So then I bet you guys are all wondering which is my favorite car. Well, the Lamborghini is a fragile beast that's fast as hell, looks aggressive, sounds like a maniac, but you can't turn it off, so it's always ready. The M5 is really like Joe Tiger. It's a caged beast. It's always ready to unleash. Sure, it's secured and it's calm, but go inside the cage and look out and find out what kind of a real beast that is. That's the M button. Open up that cage door and you get the real animal. The Jaguar, on the other hand, is a real animal. Whoa. So thanks a lot, everybody. I know you love the video and I know you guys love these cars. That's why you're here watching the video. So be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the notifications bell. That's going to let you know when the next great video is out in the vlog. And I'd really love to hear from you guys down in the comment section below. Drop a line what you think of these cars. Which one is your favorite? Can't wait to see you on the next one. Catch you then. Bye-bye.